I always forget to take the screen down. Hello, friends. It is Spencer. It is Vanessa. You are on Love Wrestling, and we are here to chat through Smackdown Live. It was the go-home show for WrestleMania, for all WrestleMania content, whether it be Raw, whether it be SmackDown, for both of our upcoming events. Vanessa, it's good to see you, friend. It's nice to have a one-on-one chat. We've had you on here a couple of times this week, but I've been that guy in the comments section. It's nice to see you, friend. How are you? How'd you feel about tonight's edition of the Blue Brand?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's good. I was okay with SmackDown. I think they put a little too much Raw in there, but it's okay.
I don't disagree. It was odd to me that they've been throwing a couple of instances like that over the last little bit, but we're going to get to that in the next little bit. Of course, wherever you guys may be watching today, whether it's Facebook Live, Twitch, or YouTube, give us your thoughts on tonight's show. Of course, as mentioned, the go-home show for SmackDown. Now, Vanessa, before we get started, of course, I want to give a shout-out to our friends at RK Athletics, the official sponsors of everything we've got going on here on the live content. And if you guys are looking to be the best versions of yourself, whether it's through physical training in person, whether it's physical training online, they will be able to help you out. Find them online at RK Athletics 1 on all social media platforms. And of course, we've got to give a shout out to our friend Josh throwing up the giddy. I believe that's how we call it, or the kids are saying it nowadays. I'm not cool, so I'll never claim to be. And Ed Fries, good to see you again, friend. Welcome back to Love Wrestling. Wasn't able to watch SmackDown. Looking forward to hearing who won tonight. So, of course, let's give the fans what they want. We'll kick it off right off the bat. We started tonight's show with the Daniel Bryan promo. You and I were talking before the show, Vanessa. I thought there were a lot of really great promos on tonight's show, and this was certainly one of them. Absolutely one of them. Daniel Bryan, over the last little bit, has had a fire to him that he's always had before, but he's never had like sort of this aggressiveness to him. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not hot on Daniel Bryan in this match, so as soon as he started talking, I kind of like shut my brain off a bit. I know, gasp. I know.
Oh, gaspe.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll get murdered later. It's okay. But I
hope not. I disagree with your opinion.
Socially.
That's a little severe there, friend.
I mean, socially.
Why not the biggest fan?
Well, I missed the boat on Daniel Bryan. I wasn't there for his big push. So when I came back into wrestling, I was like, oh, he's just another guy. And then his heel work was great. I was high on that. And I just don't think that he should be in this match with Roman and Edge. That's my story.
Completely fair. Ed hopping back in the chat as well. Finally, someone who agrees with me that Daniel doesn't need to be in the match. You know, I would have been completely fine, don't get me wrong, with just a straight up Edge Roman Reigns match. But I've liked what they've done, and I've really, really liked, because we'll talk about Edge's promo and sort of mix things in here as we go. This doesn't need to be a straight up recap. I really like how they've used this as the conduit to turn Edge back into the ultimate opportunist. Nothing against what he was doing as a face, but he is the best version of himself. He said that, I think, in his promo last week, and that he's back. And to quote the greatest theme music in professional wrestling, he's better than ever. Let's give a quick shout out, of course, to a few friends. Everything Pro Wrestling. What's up, Love Wrestling? Boom. We're recapping some SmackDown, but we're having a loose conversation. It's always a loose conversation here on Love Wrestling. Also got to give a shout out here again to Josh Robinson. Daniel makes the match so much better. I think it'll still be a great match. Would have been a great match regardless on that end of things, though. Like, Edge and Roman Reigns are just two great professional wrestlers. There's no other way to put it. It wouldn't have been a disappointment either way. This is the definition for me of having your cake and eating it too. Parrish posing a question, and I'll let you tackle this one off, Vanessa. First, I'll say hello to good friend Parrish. If Daniel Bryan doesn't need this match, tell me why Edge needs it.
I don't think it's a matter of need. I think it's a matter of recreating history. Well, I guess they're trying to recreate history with Daniel Bryan as well. But they're more or less throwing the ball to Edge because it's been 10 years since he had to give the title up. So it's kind of more of a, here's a mulligan, here's a redemption. Neither of them really need it. Roman will get a little bit more of a push if he beats Edge, but that's about it.
Who do you think's winning it? Because I don't think you're hopping on any prediction shows. So I'll let you get this one out of the way, and then we can continue along the merry road of tonight's edition of the Blue Brand.
I'm Roman all the way.
All right. I've got a lot more time for it after his promo tonight. I really do. I was calling Daniel Bryan. I admit I was for the last little bit, but like of those 3 promos that I said were absolutely fantastic tonight, he was so good. He was so good, Vanessa. So good. Tag team match, the WWE Smackdown Tag Team Championship match. There's a mouthful. Took place tonight. I wasn't a fan of this taking place tonight, to be honest with you. It's odd to me that they were announcing this. Like with the Andre the Giant a little later on as well. They were talking about it being a WrestleMania tradition. Well, this is SmackDown. How is it a WrestleMania tradition when it's not even taking place on WrestleMania anymore, right? It was frustrating to me. I have a little more time for it, I guess, given the result, but I still don't understand why this wouldn't have been on the WrestleMania card because it seemed like they were leading to it for weeks, right?
Yeah, I think my only assumption is because they didn't want to do a pre-show because they want the first match with a crowd to be the first match of WrestleMania, not a pre-show match.
Yeah. How did the crowd sound at TakeOver last night? They sounded awesome first night. No spoilers. Still haven't watched it, but...
they sounded really good last night. I actually just rewatched Cole and O'Reilly, and it was really good.
I'm really excited, man. Not to get off on too much of a tangent, but like, this is another situation. Like everybody keeps asking WrestleMania night 1 or night 2, and for me, like, hard to make a call. It sort of depends on my flavor of the day. I'm really, really excited for WrestleMania, even given that... tonight's SmackDown made up for it a little bit, I think, but it certainly was frustrating how poor quality Raw was on Monday night, and it just hasn't been the best build to Mania overall, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to focus specifically on my frustration with this tag team match itself. Again, it's odd to me that they aired it, and it's odd to me that they had Ziggler and Rude retain. It really was. And I'm a huge fan of both guys. Of course, I've got my Canadian bias for old Robert Roode there and Beer Money. Personal favorite tag team. You got to throw that one out there. But odd to me. I thought this was Ray and Dominic's time.
Yeah, I thought so too. I don't know. Maybe just because it was on a SmackDown. So maybe they'll do like a rematch at what's the next pay-per-view? Money in the Bank?
Is it Money in the Bank next? Holy crap.
I think so.
I wanted to say crap, but I don't want to use foul language. Keep that PG rating we got going on here. Yeah. That's insane, though. Absolutely insane. It's already coming up. I guess that's because it's been such a long, or it was such a long time that Otis / The Miz held it, which even saying that sentence still is an odd one. Yeah. Odd one. Josh confirming, also shouting out a great tag team name. And then got to get to Parrish right here as well. All 3 men, yes, I had to read ahead to catch up there. Talking about the Daniel Bryan, Edge, Roman Reigns, all 3 men have almost retired or actually retired. Whether it's injury or leukemia, all 3 men have comeback stories. That's why they have very similar to me. It's why Edge gets more of a pass here. This is why, in my opinion, it was better that somebody completely fresh to the scene was the best route. Yeah, I don't disagree. I do like the fact, though, at the very least, when you're talking about sort of these legend runs like Edge is on right now, when you compare something like this to, not to shit on the guy, I've got time for him a lot in professional wrestling. When you look at a guy like Goldberg, who showed up, I think, 4 or 5 times when he came on his last title run and all of that sort of stuff, I at least have time for Edge because he's playing the full-time route of it, right? I always think it's nicer to have fresh blood in the scene, but at the same time, like, you could make the argument that Roman Reigns is that fresh blood, right? Yeah. Like, he's completely different than he was at, like, last year's WrestleMania when he wrestled Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes... Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to it being, like, one of, like, it's WrestleMania, and B, it's, like, the first pay-per-view on Peacock, like, the big one. So they're just going to throw as much star power, quote unquote, on it as they can.
I swear to God, if I get any more of those like fake commercials that have been happening ever since Peacock started, I'm going to throw a hissy fit. I don't really have another way to put it. It's the most frustrating thing ever. It happened during one of the near falls during the Walter Ciampa match. And I was so frustrated because obviously the announcers had so much to something like that. And it was gone. It was just completely gone. Frustrating. Peacock's really frustrating. Thank goodness for the good old WWE network up here in Canada.
That's right.
Of course, I'm going to take this opportunity because I'm out of breath to enjoy myself a crew brew from Alley Cat. Remember to support local, whether it's professional wrestling or local breweries. Moving on, we got a Bianca Belair promo. Admittedly, I started cooking dinner during this in the Fiend Orton recap. So I did miss this promo. I don't know if you caught it, but if you did, give some thoughts. I don't really have a ton on the Fiend Orton recap other than like why this aired on Friday. I really don't know, especially when they had a show on Monday night. They didn't air anything for those guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing there. The Bianca promo was good. Like, I don't know. I find that they're stripping, like, her attitude is gone. Like, her.
Okay.
So she's more like, oh, I'm just happy to be here. And I'm just, like, I'm the best and everything, but I'm just, like, happy to be here. And I don't know.
Do you think they're trying to do that to, like, play up the dynamic with Sasha and Bianca? Because, like, not to generalize too much, but they have played fairly similar characters in the past. Like even tonight in Sasha's promo where she references she's the EST, but she's not the BEST or something along those lines. And they've said similar stuff to that before. So like, that's just me spitballing, but it could be just that they're trying to differentiate. Like Sasha's got her not fully heel attitude still, but has definitely leaned more to the heel side over the last little bit. So could just be for that dichotomy, but I agree that Bianca maybe, and in no detriment to her, I still absolutely love her, but has lost a little bit of that edge.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
It's fun. Get it? I didn't mean to make it, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm not like, I don't know. I feel like they dropped the ball on this story, and they could have made it better. And like it was hot, and then they dropped it, and then they made them a tag team, and then
and I've said this to a couple times. A couple of times, excuse me. I don't give a shit if two professional wrestlers fighting each other can coexist. I don't want to see that. Like, I'm not an MMA fan, so I know like even the mechanics of this are entirely wrong. But like in theory, I wouldn't want to watch Anderson Silva and fucking Chuck Liddell team up against GSP and another, fighter. It doesn't make sense to me. If they hate each other, have them fight each other. And why you're trying to have them team up, you're bang on. It was an absolutely fantastic feud for the couple of weeks coming out of the Rumble, and they did sort of dip with it a bunch. They did bring it back up, and a big shout to good friend Tom Colhute, who not only is giving a good shout to good friend Josh Robinson, but he brought the raid 2 nights in a row. What a good human being. And good friend Chelsea back here, who threw us a cheeky follow yesterday. Hello, Chelsea. Good to see you again. 100% here for you guys being here. We're chatting SmackDown, same sort of thing as last night, keeping it loose. If you got questions, comments, concerns, we were in the middle of discussing the Sasha Banks Bianca Belair feud, how maybe Bianca's had a little bit of the edge taken away, a little bit of the wind taken out of those sails, and so on and so forth. But Vanessa, I had about all my thoughts there if you've got anything else to add to that. Otherwise, we can move on to what I think was all of our match of the night, the Tamina versus Nia Classic.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so in full transparency, my Fire Stick cut out and I missed half that match. So I didn't see who won that match until it went backstage. It
was exactly what you would expect it to be. And that's nothing against either of them. I've really liked what they've done, to be honest with you, for Natalya and Tamina over the last couple of months. I think that the tag team itself is fantastic. Tamina, to me, as a worker, is pretty underrated, to be honest with you. Like, she's someone who I hate the phrase, but like, she's been cursed by injury. Like, she was out for that year and a half there. She was out during her time with the Usos for a bit as well. It's certainly not for a lack of talent, for lack of a better way to put it. But yeah, this match was exactly what it had to be. Tom hopping in right here too. I took a commercial break and I missed the whole Tamina Jax match. I think that would tell you pretty well everything that it could about that match. And at the risk of
fire.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. If we're on the route of keeping it positive, great gear. Yeah, they're trying to push Tamina at the moment, and I've got no issue with that. Same sort of thing
And
with
see, like they
Natalia.
did it before too, like when they had her going against Bailey and they had her cutting those like insane promos like on Twitter. I
Yeah,
was like, why aren't we doing this to Mina all the time?
I agree. She could be an absolute killer, man. Like she's fantastic.
Especially
I'm gonna
like
put it
playing
out
the
there.
psycho
Push Tamina to the
character.
moon. Was it Money in the Bank when she feuded with Bailey? And like you said, like those promos that
Yeah.
they weren't putting on television were absolutely fantastic. That match could have been a little bit more. Perish with the crude but hilarious comment. There seems to be a hole in the excitement chart. Excuse me. Every time Nia is on TV, ha 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 ha. Josh, and yeah, the one thing I wanted to pick up on next. Josh is best friend Carmella. Sorry, I'm trying to read and
Ooh.
chat at the same time. And my God, Billy Kay, her thing now. You're welcome, world. I'm very excited. It was a little frustrating that that it was spoiled, whatever it was, Monday when the Tag Turmoil match was announced. I think WWE sent out the graphic with them on there. Big old oopsie, but something I'm certainly excited about. They're just entertaining as hell, man. And like, you
And
know,
there's still like a mystery team, right?
they were announced tonight. They were like
Okay.
confirmed tonight. They were doing a whole backstage segment, and this was immediately after the Nia Tamina match.
Okay, yeah, I saw that, but I didn't know if
Yeah,
there was still a question mark, another team or not.
no, they filled in the graphic. They are official. We've got Carmella and Billy Kay. K-Mella, I think, is the name that I've loosely gone with as far as it goes. I think it works pretty well. I think it works pretty well. Solid point by Tom. They seem to push Tamina for the first half of the year every year and then forget her in the second half. Same for Naomi. Yeah, Naomi, and I really don't understand her arguably more than Tamina. I really don't, because she's proven like in a way that Tamina hasn't,
Mhm.
and through again no fault of her own. Like Naomi's carried titles and done well with them, and again like she had the injury right before WrestleMania, because that was the WrestleMania in
Miami
Orlando where she came
or
back and she
Orlando.
won the title. Yeah. So she's proven she can do it. People love her. Like I understand you can only put so much into social media hype, quote unquote, but like
Mhm.
fuck, WWE puts so much into social media hype. How often do you see a graphic coming across the screen that says they've got more followers than, NHL, NBA, MLS, whatever it may be, RFQ, any of that sort of shit? Then combined, it's odd to me that they haven't capitalized on that, at least in my opinion, to the fullest extent.
Yeah, I think Naomi needs a like as much as the glow is amazing and it looks well, I think she needs a change, like a grit change.
Not to not to play it up too much, because I've sort of thought about that too. I think they're really starting to do a good job of building her and Lana as a tag team, not like a thrown together tag team, if you know what I mean. Like they're
Mhm.
establishing them, like as silly as it sounds, but again, the social media game where they're on TikTok and they're getting in these stupid little silly feuds with Mandy and Dana Brooke in TikToks and punching each other in the face. Like I'm okay with stuff like that. I'm completely okay with stuff like that. I've got a lot of time for stuff like that. So they're starting to establish themselves as a team a little bit more, and like have your complaints as far as the in-ring stuff goes. I'm personally of the belief that Lana is nowhere near as bad as people make her out to be most of the time. But I think that if Naomi was to turning on Lana would be a pretty effective way to do it. Lana as a character is pretty solid, if not fantastic, by my opinion.
No, I
And
agree.
I know the tangent there, but
No, that's fine. No, like I agree with that. Going against Lana would be good. And I think we need like MVP to start talking in her ear a little
I
bit.
really like that. I like the idea of the Hurt Business still recruiting. I'm happy that they clarified that Baron Corbin was not a member of the Hurt Business. But I do like that they have at least alluded to that continuing to be a thing, even if it is um, proverbially under new management. Even though I know it'd be new employees, for lack of a better way to put it. Parrish hopping in there as well. Only Cameron Grimes goes to the moon, but Tamina and Natty should win the women's tag team titles. Stay tuned. Chris Parrish and I will be live tomorrow talking about the women's tag team turmoil match that, of course, Natalya and Tamina are in. We will be giving our predictions at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, 5 p.m. Eastern, with a wild, wacky cast of characters. You know it's serious because I use the word wacky as the descriptor for it. It's going to be a blast, but that's then. This is now. We are still, at least again, loosely talking Smackdown. Chelsea hopping in. I want the Hurt Business to recruit Omos. I like that. I really, really like that. He's a guy that I'm really excited to see debut tomorrow night. I think they announced it for, right?
I believe so. I'm not really sure what matches are on what card.
I'm also very confused. That's why I'm only very loosely alluding to most of them.
I just say this weekend.
We've got Parrish hopping back in here as well with a comment before we get back on topic. Bring back Jamie Noble and Nydia to be Cameron Grimes' parents. No, I've got all the time in the world for them doing. I always pop when they come out as backstage agents and it's like, hey, there's Noble. Haha. Hey, there's Finley. It's one of my favorite things in wrestling. Ed hopping in as well. I want Naomi in the bloodline with Roman and Jay. That's a really good one.
For sure.
It's also a really good one.
Yeah, she needs to go MVP, Hurt Business, or she needs to go to SmackDown.
I like the idea of her turning heel and then one of my favorite things was when managers were trying to recruit Randy Savage, and that's how he eventually was recruited by Miss Elizabeth and they joined up. I would love that idea of play up not free agency, but like you're trying to recruit Naomi. I know it's odd. They've got two different sort of connotations to me though. You know what I mean? Like if MVP was in her ear and then Paul Heyman was in her ear and then Billy Kay. I don't know, just because I like Pop and Josh in the comments section, but she also could present a resume as part of a backstage segment, right? I think there's a lot of room for Naomi doing stuff. And again, that's not a complaint on what she's doing right now, but in this world that you and I have talked about where she's turning heel on Lana, which I think would be a pretty neat thing to do, I'd have all the time in the world for something like that. Or like you guys have said, hopping straight in with Roman and Jay or hopping right in with the Hurt Business, whoever it may be. Again, if you guys have any comments, feel free to keep throwing them at us like Parrish did here as well. The Hurt Business should turn the profits and have them join. I agree too. They've been far too absent for my liking. I'm really, really high on the Street Profits. I absolutely love them. They're the sort of team for me that they should have a segment every week. They really, really should. And they've still been on TV fairly consistently, but nowhere near enough, if you ask me. And this could be something perfect for it.
Yeah. Even if they just had them remember those backstages they used to do where they recapped Raw?
Those were hilarious. I loved those. I absolutely love them. You notice that people like that, Elias was very similar where he was appearing for weeks, but didn't really do anything physical or get involved in anything like that. Lacey Evans is another recent example of that. Maybe Lacey's the outlier as far as it goes, not for lack of effort on WWE's part, but the people who get that longer exposure and the longer, I guess, the WWE universe can dip their toes in the water with people, the more over they seem to be in the long run. Maybe that's a topic for another day. Do you see Bayley versus Charlotte Flair at Mania as a surprise? I don't, and the only reason I say that, there are fairly reputable people. There are fairly reputable people out there, as my voice cracks, out there who have said that there's at least a potential of a Bayley Becky Lynch thing. Now, some of that did also allude to there being a ding dong hello segment that was setting it up tonight. Obviously, anything can happen, and you don't want somebody to come back too soon or before they're ready after becoming a parent. But she did send out the tweet about night one where she had all of the first letters in her words. I don't know if you saw it, but on Instagram she posted a photo and the first letter of every word she posted spelled out night one.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. That's
how much I'll send her. No worries. I'll send her to you in the chat here when we're off the show. But yeah, she basically sent out a post where it alluded to her appearing at night one. And then there was the speculation, again, from a lot of sites that I consider reputable, that had said that there was perhaps the potential of a Bayley versus Becky match happening or a segment or a return of some sort. But I'm just a guy sitting here shooting the shit with a friend about professional wrestling on Love Wrestling and the friends in the chat on their various channels. Hopping in as well back on the Tamina train. Who would have known that Tamina would become the topic of choice? Tamina is over on Love Wrestling, both in the comments section and among the hosts. Tamina could replace Natty with Naomi and join the bloodline, as they both qualify and both have history with the Usos. Yeah, I agree. And when you've got the rumors that Harry Smith is coming back, I don't know how you tie it into the larger picture. Again, we're just here to spitball. We're just here to shoot the shit. Feel free to throw your ideas in the comments there. Vanessa, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit because I did the same thing to Streamer yesterday. Give us a minute plug. Give us the elevator pitch for putting you over.
Okay, putting you over. We are on Twitch. We stream every Tuesday, Thursday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. We are a show about nothing. That's with a wrestling gimmick. So we stream from a bar. I'm the voice from above. And that's our show. Sometimes we have some sweet guests. Stay tuned.
I really, really love the chat you guys had with Trish Adora. She just seems like a fantastic person. Fantastic person.
Yeah,
you guys have had a lot of good guests on there lately. So I highly recommend that you guys check them out. At least every Thursday night is when I find myself consistently tuning in. But they've got great content going on all the time. And we are very, very lucky to have both Streamer and Vanessa as part of the Love Wrestling family. Vanessa, I know we're not going to give away too much because you and I are going to be doing various prediction shows and all of that sort of stuff over the next little bit. But Chelsea wants to chat predictions for night 1 of Mania. So maybe just give me your overall thoughts on WrestleMania, because as you do that, I'm going to vamp. And I'm going to pull up the night 1 WrestleMania card. So maybe we can give a bit of a loose chat. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to be live tomorrow on this very same Twitch channel at 5 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be hosting the POS show. It is a special back-to-back edition. Myself and Chris Parrish, who is in the comments here tonight, as well as a couple of other Love Wrestling family and friends, will be giving our official WrestleMania predictions. And actually, I will pull her down right now. Now, this championship will be back up for grabs. Yes, the Love Wrestling Elite Championship will be up for grabs. Not both nights. Hopefully, because hopefully I'm just going to retain it and just keep taking her home for the next little bit. But that title will be on the line tomorrow, Sunday, and of course on every edition of the Prediction or Spoiler, the Parrish or Spencer, the POS show. That's tomorrow night. There we go. We got all of our plugs out of the way halfway through. Now all I need to do is just start remembering to put our little social media ticker up along on the bottom, and we're good to go. Predictions for night 1 of Mania, however, I do want to make sure that if we're asking people to comment, we're answering their questions. So first and foremost, I suppose, let's get back to Bianca and Sasha a little bit. How do you feel about them main eventing? I am very, very happy about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I am and I'm not. I think that they should have opened, because I think that that would have been a higher note to be the first to fans, first that you see.
I've got a lot of time for that argument this year. I really, really do. Normally, I would see the opening match as like it's still a very important match, but definitely not like the main event match. You know what I mean? But like you said, with it being the first match in front of fans, or in front of as large scale fans as WWE have been able to have, I think, what is it, 25 or 35,000 they're able to have?
Say in between
cool.
25 and 35.
Let's throw a dart right in the middle of that. We'll go with 30 and we'll get proven wrong in the comments here in a minute. But I got a lot of time for the argument. Don't get me wrong. But personally, as far as it goes, when you look at Lashley versus McIntyre, which for me would be the other obvious quote unquote choice to main event, I'm just personally hotter on the Sasha versus Bianca match, even despite maybe some of the missteps that we've talked about earlier in the show.
Yeah, and I'm still like, well, I'm not a huge, okay, so another side, I'm not a huge Sasha fan to begin with. I find her very phony, for lack of a better term, like when she talks and everything. And like, I get it's a character, but like, I find that she's overacting the character. Okay. I don't feel it's genuine. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know.
Hey, fair points. And you've got a lot of people agreeing with you. Our good friend Ed agreeing Sasha and Bianca would have set a much better tone to start than Drew versus Bobby. Yeah,
I think Drew versus Bobby had the better build.
Yeah, but even then, like I think they've taken more recent missteps, to be honest. I really don't like the breakup of the Hurt Business. As much as we're talking about like potential new recruits, all of that sort of stuff, like even with the Battle Royal tonight, the Andre the Giant that we'll talk about in a minute here, they did them real dirty, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. I think the only reason, and I think Streamer and I were talking about this on Putting You Over the other day, the only reason why we came to the conclusion that they broke up the Hurt Business was because people were liking the Hurt Business. So they didn't want people to cheer them.
Yeah. I also want to give the quick shout here. Just when people are agreeing with you, I want to make sure I recognize that as well. Chelsea Drew versus Bobby would have been the perfect main event. I agree. I think the Sasha buildup didn't seem very genuine. Yeah. I don't know if we had if we had mentioned it prior, because I think you guys hopped in here on the raid that Tom so graciously again threw our way. But yeah, we were talking about that, and I don't think that they had done very well off the offset of this build. Like, there's no need to see if wrestlers can coexist. There really isn't. Like, it should be used, if you're going after the tag team titles, I never understand why that would be the first step, number one. Like, that should be a punishment. You know what I mean? If Adam Pearce was to come out and have said, you guys have been fighting, like forcing them to, okay. But it was almost like hey, we want all the gold. We want to do this together, even despite the fact that we're already scheduled to fight. That's odd for me. That really is odd for me. Should seem like a punishment to be team. Like, when I was fighting with my younger brother, because we all fought at points, right? But the last thing that our parents did that would make us happy would be, okay, you guys are going to go figure this out. Go play together. Go do something together. We hated it. It wasn't like we were like, okay, well, now let's band together in pursuit of a common goal. No, that's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. And maybe I'm still just a little more bitter because they did the exact same thing with Rhea Ripley and Asuka in just a more condensed timeline. But I digress. It's not ever going to be something that I like. Never is going to be. I'm very happy about both of those matches, though. Like, if I'm debating those two matches to main event to WrestleMania, it's a very good problem to have, in my opinion. Lots I'm excited for on night one, though. Do you want me to just do a quick little read down for you and give me a little thought? Again, I can't give my predictions away too much. Parrish is already in the comments throwing shots like these at me. POS, Parrish over, Spencer, what up? So I ain't giving you shit. Also hopping in here real quick as well. You can't force what's not there for WrestleMania. That is why Drew versus Bobby is simply more logical to main event night one. Sasha versus Bianca can semi-main, but a weak build has potential to be a weak delivery. So don't take a chance on a hope when it comes to the biggest show of the year. Eloquent, well put, and something that I do agree with. Again, it all just does come down to, for me, my personal excitement for the match itself on Sasha and Bianca's end versus Drew and Bobby. I loved Drew and Bobby's match when they had it at Backlash. It was Backlash last year that they had it at, correct?
I'm not the person.
Either way, we're going to go with Backlash, and if anybody wants to call me out, I am happy to be proven wrong. It only improves my knowledge of this wonderful sport of professional wrestling. I loved their match, but that always, for me, does take a little bit away when you're getting the rematch. You know what I mean? Unless something's drastically changed, and even when you were facing off the first time between Drew and Bobby, you were still in the early days of the Hurt Business. You hadn't recruited Shelton, you hadn't recruited Cedric Alexander, but the partnership with MVP was there. Bobby was developing into this sort of ruthless killer that he's become. So we are getting a similar match, not the same match, but not a different match. Whereas with Sasha and Bianca, like, it's first time ever. You haven't seen them wrestle before, and it's very lucky that we can sit and talk about these four being equally talented. You can throw all four of them. I'd be just as excited for Drew versus Sasha. But like, first night, we've got Bad Bunny match. I'm very excited. I am very, very excited for that one, to be honest with you. I think you talk about builds, talk about long-term storytelling. This has been going on since the Royal Rumble. They've consistently built towards it. Have your opinions on celebrities in professional wrestling. I know that there are people out there, there are people in the comments, Mr. Parrish, that aren't a huge fan of this going on, but it's something that I'm super excited for. My hope, to be honest with you, is that, again, in the interest of WrestleMania being this big time of change, I really hope this starts to lead to the breakup of The Miz and Morrison. And personally, just in the interest of wanting to see both of those guys as singles wrestlers again. It ain't anything against what they've done. Yeah, there's been some severely goofy stuff, for sure, in their run, but there's also been some severely fantastic goofy stuff, like Hip Hip Hop Hop, whatever the name of the song is. Hey Hey Ho Ho Hop Hop. Shit, it was good. I enjoyed it. I'd download that. I'd put it on my phone tomorrow. I 100 will. But I'm excited for the match. I'm hoping that this, like I said, will lead to their breakup because John Morrison is. I would have no issue. I would have a lot of time watching that guy chase a heavyweight championship in WWE. I don't know if he'd win it. I really don't. But like, as a Lucha Underground sucker, that guy can carry a title and carry it well.
Well, even Impact, he carried it.
Yeah.
In Impact as well.
I'm just sour on that one because old Austin Aries decided to be Austin Aries.
Well, you can't fix stupid.
Yeah, eloquently put. And I think that's going to be about the only mention I have of Austin Aries on a show here in the future. The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. I'm loving it. This is a hell of a feud, one that I'm very excited for. I'm a sucker for a big guy in pro wrestling, and he's got a lot of potential. That guy's got charisma out the wazoo. You know, in a way that a lot of big guys, they've made a comedy act. Like Braun's done it at times, right? The Big Show did it at times. He's got a lot of natural charisma. He's naturally funny. The interactions between him and Styles are hilarious. But I'm still terrified of Omos. And I know this guy could kick my ass 25 ways to Sunday, nonetheless 6. But like Braun Strowman, after some of the comedy stuff and with Nicholas and all of that, maybe you don't take him as the monster that he had been previously known as, right? Omos, I don't see that yet. And it's a small sample size, but I digress.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I'm going to go back. I'm picking Priest and Bad Bunny on the first one. That's it. That's what it's going to be. That's it.
That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
As far I'm not high on this match. Like I'm not, and that's not that I'm not high on it. Like it's fine. It's the New Day. It's AJ Styles. It's going to be good. Omos, I just have a big question mark, and sometimes big guys with little people, like with smaller stature folks, I don't know. Sometimes I find it hard, or injuries happen just because of nothing. So I don't know. I'm just a little nervous or hesitant, I guess.
I don't blame you at all. Now we've got about 20 minutes left here on the post Smackdown stream. We're talking all things Smackdown, and right now we're talking nothing Smackdown because you, the fans, decide what we talk about here on Love Wrestling. To be honest, it makes it easier on us, especially on a night like tonight where I think Vanessa and I have talked a lot about Smackdown, what we liked, what we didn't. There's no need for me to really go too in-depth into the Andre the Giant. I like Jey Uso winning. I really wish that Mustafa Ali would have won it. But that's really my only thought as far as that goes. Right?
Okay, here's my only thing. Can I just go into that?
Of course you can.
Why was so Retribution's dead, but then whatever those 3 other guys are still dressed.
Mace, Slapjack. Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
And Ali is dressed normal. Like, I was like, why?
I was really hoping, as far as Retribution goes, and don't worry, Ed, I've got your comment in here, and it's something that I want to pick on a little bit. Not pick on in a bad way, pick Vanessa's brain, I should say, on a little bit. I agree with that. I was really hoping with Retribution they would have used this angle to maybe do something along the lines of cut a vignette in the back where they take the masks off. I'm Dijakovic. I'm Mia Yim. Sort of shed those old personas. They haven't done that yet, though, and they haven't really given, outside of the on-screen breakup, a reason for them to do that yet. And even before Ali came around, they were still in those get-ups, right? So I agree. I had hoped that they would have used it to sort of propel them on to bigger and better, not bigger and better, different things, I suppose. But I understand why they've still
segued it with Ali handing them a Snickers because they are sponsored by Snickers, right? So
and that's how we move out of it.
And be like, you're not you when you're hungry, and then they change back to themselves.
And that's how we do it. Well, I guess if fucking Eric Bugenhagen is running as the new Old Spice guy, and that's literally the 24/7 title scene right now, may as well. Let's make these sponsorships storyline. I'm cool with it. One that I wanted to bring on here. I feel like the other best match to main event night 1 would have been Randy Orton versus The Fiend in a Firefly Funhouse match. I agree. I both understand,
that what this match is?
No, and that's the point I was going to make is I was both very confused, but also understand why it's not a Firefly Funhouse match. Personally, I think that it would have suited it great. Like, maybe a hot take. I don't really think it's that hot personally, but like, I enjoyed the Firefly Funhouse match far over and above the Boneyard match last year. Way, way more. And I really wish they would have played that up again this year, especially given how long the history between Orton and The Fiend is. But the other alternative for me is like, I don't know how exciting that would have been. Like, how would you execute something like that in a live setting? And as a wrestling fan, do you want to sit there and watch a 20-minute video on screen? Right? I just don't know how that would have, I don't know how they'd execute it. I'm certainly hoping they do another Firefly Funhouse match here sooner rather than later, or stay doing cinematic matches to a bigger degree. But I'm not sure. Explain to me why Orton would agree to a Funhouse match. He burnt a guy alive. He's prepared to do anything. He's already agreed to a House of Horrors match. He wants to put the Fiend down for good, and he wants to do it in his house. I think that'd be, for me, I think the Firefly Funhouse and the tie back to him actually burning down Bray Wyatt's old house. There's a tie in there. I don't know. I don't want to call it a Wyatt Swamp match. I can tell you that much, though, Parrish. Have we seen the Friends' new look? No, I've seen the Fiend's new look, though, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. Again, understand why you've got to make him look like a burn victim and all of those sorts of things, but man, did I love the old gear. That's some of the coolest shit I've ever seen in pro wrestling, to be quite honest with you.
What if they put the old mask on Alexa?
They've talked about that. At least the online forums, I suppose, have talked about that. And I'd like it. I really would like it. Do you think that it would jump the shark a little bit? Like, she's already got that like fiendish persona. And I agree it could use some changing. Like, you maybe do have to do a little bit more than the dark black eyeliner. But it's yeah, I don't know. Well, you'd have to execute it right. And I know that's such a cop-out for anything in pro wrestling. Like, anything done well, you can justify. Anything that's a great idea and you do poorly will suck as playing Monday morning quarterback, right? But I just really I don't know.
It could be, I don't know. Like, it could be done fairly easily, because if you look into, say, the paranormal and anyone who kind of follows through that, anything you do, like whether you're doing like incantations or spells and stuff like that, it takes a part of your soul depending on what you're doing. So it could change your appearance, which then she has to don the mask.
Huh. Yeah. I've got a lot of time for it. And I personally like The Fiend. For me, I stand by it. He's been one of the coolest things to come in professional wrestling in my time watching. And like, I've 15 years doesn't sound like a lot, especially there's a lot of people who've been watching professional wrestling much, 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 much longer than that and have seen cooler stuff and have opinions on what's cooler. But like, man, that initial run of The Fiend, and again, when you get the live experience with things, I was at SummerSlam 2019. When you get to see something like that live, holy cow, does it change your experience? It really, really does. So I'm a sucker for The Fiend. I would definitely be interested how they'd execute or introduce a mask for Alexa Bliss, but I don't know. I haven't then. If he does have a new look where he wears a black cloth over his head, I haven't yet. The last like new look I saw of him was when he was on the swing set with Alexa Bliss. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly.
Everything. Like, people were posting like what the set of WrestleMania was looking like, and I was like, nope, mute person, mute.
Yeah, I don't want any of it. I'm so excited, and I can't stress enough. So excited for fans to be back in like a full scale thing. Obviously, again, just when anything like this is brought up, I want to give the caveat of please make sure everybody's staying socially responsible. Take care of yourselves, but take care of others more importantly. But if you feel though you can go and you are legally allowed to do so in areas like that, why not? And I believe that Raymond James hosts something like 60,000 people. I think that at least with AEW's end, they've done a good job with their fans. Obviously, WWE hasn't had this scale of fans quite yet. No one has, but I hope it goes well.
The Astros they had 40,000.
Okay, so there we go. So hopefully nothing comes out of it, because if stuff like this can be done safely, I'm stoked. Fans in professional wrestling, I ain't breaking any news here, folks, and it ain't a unique point, but fans in professional wrestling are such a difference maker. You even start to see it with stuff like TakeOver over the last couple of nights. Even with All Elite, when they started bringing fans back over the first few weeks, it was such a game changer. And I'm so excited. Chelsea, I got to give a shout to your comment. Don't worry, I ain't missing you, friend. Miz and Morrison as a tag team is comedy due to not being serious, but Miz and Morrison as singles wrestlers are two solid wrestlers. Yep. Bang on, my friend. Bang on. I completely agree with you. As mentioned, we got about 15 minutes left, so feel free to get your comments in, questions in, concerns in. If you just want to give a shout out to someone you like, feel free to throw them in the comments as well. Vanessa, a couple of other quick things that we can touch on from SmackDown as we get closer to closing it out here. Did you see the Cesaro Seth Rollins political commercial? This was my favorite. This and the Sami Zayn segment that we're going to talk about later. They were my two favorite parts of SmackDown. These are perfect instances of comedy done right. 100%.
So good.
I think Seth Rollins, since coming back with the Embrace the Vision versus the Messiah gimmick, it's a pretty slight tweak, but it's definitely a needed one, I believe. And sorry, just before, again, great stream. It's 4 p.m. where I am, so heading off, Chelsea. It is great to see you. I hope to see you back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Eastern. But we'll be streaming a lot over the next couple of days, friends, so I hope to see you sooner rather than later. Thanks for tuning in. And again, Tom, thanks for bringing friends back our way, whether they are coming for the first time on the raid tonight or joined us last night, or hopefully join us in the future. Like I said, we've got lots of streams coming up to plug, but let's get back to Cesaro. Your thoughts on what I believe was the best part of the show tonight?
Oh, as soon as so I was sitting there and I started seeing it and I was like, oh my goodness. And then they goes into the whole political thing. I was hitting my husband. I'm like, are you watching this? Because sometimes he's not. And I'm laughing and I was like that. And then once it was over, I was just clapping. I was like, that was so good. It was perfect. They couldn't have done it any better.
No, and like I said, this is something that maybe wouldn't have worked as well if he was still they could have done this exact same thing, and if he was still playing the Messiah gimmick to it, I don't know if it would have worked. But it's been such a subtle change from trying to be, I guess, a godlike figure to a cult-like figure. Is the way I've sort of described it to people, and it's just clicking for me on all cylinders.
The funniest part was it was paid for by friends of Seth Rollins. Definitely not associated with Seth Rollins. That was the best.
And in the same sort of way, you hear the end of medical commercials as quickly as possible. Paid for by friends of Seth Rollins, not affiliated with Seth Rollins. Cut, done. Yeah, bang on. I loved it. And then same sort of thing on, if we're going to keep on the comedic end, Sami Zayn with the line of the night talking about grapefruit salad. What a guy. What a guy. And you love it too, because I think that's one thing that's really underappreciated about Corey Graves is how he's able to play. You can tell he's poking the bear, but he's also able to play such an effective straight man for stuff like that. I love it, because it's not like he burst out laughing. Michael Cole quite literally did the Jim Halpert and turned to the camera after he said that grapefruit salad line. And Corey Graves is sitting there, he's like, oh, okay, of course. It's perfect. Sami Zayn, again, I think you and I have even talked about this on whether it's in the comments or in the stream or whatever. We've talked about it. Sami Zayn's a guy I thought was unturnable, the same way you've looked at people like Bayley or even Johnny Gargano, obviously a lot later. I don't know if I like him more as a babyface or a heel in WWE anymore. I really don't. And that is the biggest compliment I think you can give to a professional wrestler. That guy can do anything. That guy can really do anything. Was hilarious tonight and has been fantastic over the last little bit. Excuse JP as well if you're getting them picked up on your end. Your thoughts, Sami Zayn. Is the grapefruit salad line the best line in professional wrestling this year?
Oh my God, I was laughing so hard. And then he's like, grapefruit salad. And then right after he said it, he was like, crap, that's not what I wanted to say at all. And then he's like, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely fantastic. And I really did appreciate, again, just something on the production end, I suppose. I appreciated the fact that they started doing the entrances for the individuals on the Andre the Giant. And that's when Kevin Owens chose to attack. It wasn't just like a Sami Zayn, then Kevin Owens, then we do the entrances. Like it felt, I love when the world of professional wrestling commingles. And it's why, excuse me for a sec. It's why I have no issue. Like, it's an odd comparison to start with, but hear me out. Like, with AEW having all the factions right now and the conversation, oh, you can't get invested in one person. How can you get invested in one person? I love when the worlds of professional wrestling seem connected and seem to intermingle. Like, these people are all in the same stadium. Why they wouldn't be doing things at the same time or passing each other in a hallway every so often, or with AEW hanging out with their friends, for lack of a better way to put it. For me, it makes it more realistic because not everything is going in like a segment by segment fashion. I thought that was just a nice little touch for it. And of course, I couldn't be more excited for this match. I really couldn't. I had a conversation with someone the other week, and I said, respectfully, of course, but like, there's for me, I don't see how anybody at this point can be unexcited about a KO Sami Zayn match. I really don't. I understand, like, and it makes me sound old. I have been blissfully unaware of Logan Paul up until all of this WWE stuff. So like, there have been people who have said that he's done some pretty bad stuff on. I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that sort of side of things.
Well, I know, like my husband follows like boxing and MMA and all that stuff, so I kind of know the story behind it. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple sides of the story, so it's what side you want to go with. So,
okay.
If you go with like the main controversy side of it, yeah, you probably shouldn't have been in there, but there wasn't like what they say was in there. If people know the story, they'll understand what I'm talking about without having
sounds good. And I will remain blissfully unaware. However, I do think
but that, like, he's in the huge. Context, he's huge.
Well, yeah. Like, didn't he say tonight he's got something like nearly 1 billion subscribers? How much of that's conjecture, I don't know. But like,
well, I don't know about that, but like, he's like fighting Ben Askren soon on Mike Tyson's boxing league. So like, that's another huge crossover where you're putting, like, you have music, but now you're doing boxing and wrestling. Yeah. So
I've also got a friend in the comments, of course, Call 2K. I'm too old to really know or care about Logan Paul. I'm in the same boat. I'm at the point now where, like, unless it directly relates to professional wrestling, I'm not going to go out of my way to learn too much more new stuff. I'm just going to start my slow decline at 29. Title of my book. In the context of pro wrestling, though, like what Logan has done, I've quite liked, to be honest with you. Again, like in direct relation to the Sami Zayn segment tonight. I know they released it on social media before, but it served its purpose. I quite liked it. And in the larger sense of things, I've liked that Logan Paul has kept his allegiances shady, not under wraps. That's the better way to put it. You don't know really whose side he's on, because even when Kevin Owens was walking out last week and he shoved Logan Paul, that sort of stirred some controversy or a bit of a look on him too. So I'm interested to see how it'll play out. And I am certain, number one, it'll be a schmoz finish, but number two, that the preceding 25 minutes that it hopefully gets are going to be absolutely fantastic. Ed's throwing in here, I think it's Jake Paul fighting Askren, but I'm not sure. Well, let me tell you, if you thought I was blissfully unaware of Logan Paul, tonight was the first appearance or awareness I got about his brother. So there we go. Before we close her out here, we're getting close with about 5 minutes left on the show. Is there anything else you want to highlight from SmackDown tonight? Anything else you want to chat about, whether professional wrestling or otherwise, Vanessa, before we wrap her up here on Love Wrestling React?
No, it was nice to see Eric Rowan. No, not Eric Rowan. That's not his name. That's Big Red.
Redbeard?
Yeah, that's Redbeard. No, Viking Raiders.
I think it's just Eric.
Yeah.
I think it's just Eric and Rowan. It's not even like Eric S. or something.
Yeah. It was nice to see him back in the ring and, actually getting something. Like, he didn't last very long, but it was just nice to see him in the ring because he's been gone for so long. Poor Tucker. He didn't even get like, oh, there goes Tucker over the ring. Poor guy. I didn't even know who it was.
I was going to say I rewound to make sure. So the entire time they were focusing on Tucker in the ring, and admittedly it was a short amount of time, but you never once saw his face. Like, just the way they set the cameras up, it was all on his back as he was getting eliminated. Like, I didn't know it was him either, outside of the fact that they were saying, this is Tucker. Very, very, very... Another great show right there. Cross looked like he was trying out to be a Viking Raider last night. I've seen photos. That's the one spoiler that I did get from last night, unfortunately, is the biggie. It was frustrating. Really, really frustrating to figure that one out. But c'est la vie. I'm actually going to end up after this probably watching TakeOver after playing some Plants vs. Zombies and I'm thinking some Super Smash Bros, but I was playing that earlier today. So we might change her up. We'll see there. Ed, that's appreciated, man. Just want to say I found you guys in Tom's raid last night and you and Streamer last night, and tonight with you and Vanessa have been great. Can't wait to catch another stream. That is incredibly appreciated. And as we get close, this will be the last time that I plug this one specifically, but we will be back here on Twitch tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be here. There will be a rotating cast of characters on what we call the POS show. It is our prediction or spoiler, the Parrish or Spencer. Some might call it the POS show in the most literal sense of that iteration sometimes, but I like to think we have a lot of fun. I don't know if Parrish is still in the comments, but if he is, he's a great individual. He was the one who was throwing some great shouts out there earlier, and a great friend, and a couple of others are going to be joining me on that stream tomorrow right here on Love Wrestling. And Vanessa, I'm just going to continue with the plugs here to close it out. I'll let the guest save the best for last. The couple of things that we're trying to specifically hit here in the next couple of days that you guys have helped us out huge with over the last little bit. We're still trying to reach affiliate status here on Twitch. So all we've got to do is continue to bump those watch hours up and have at least 3 of you hopping in here. So it would really mean a lot if you tuned in tomorrow, stayed in, even just throw it in the background and throw us on mute when I end up inevitably going off on a rant or a ramble, as I tend to do. One of the other goals we've got in the next little bit is we've reached the top 10 at points this year, so we are trying our damnedest to become the #1 Canadian podcast out there. The best way that we can do that is get our podcast rated and reviewed on ratethispodcast.com. The link right there not only will take you to our personal page, but if you rate us this month, Podchaser is going to be donating 25 cents to Meals on Wheels. And personally, my dad and I have both helped out a little bit on that end of things in the past. My dad still does some great volunteer work on that end, and they're a great organization. So if there was ever a time that you guys were going to head and rate our podcast, rate this show, rate anything we've got going on Love Wrestling, now would be the time to do it, and that would be the place. And the last thing that I want to highlight, because we're super, super excited about it, is if you head to lovewrestling.ca/shop right now, we've got some shirts coming out in the next little bit that are now available for pre-order. Support local, like we were lucky enough to do with our great collaboration coming out with Sea of Dead, based out of Calgary, Alberta. Again, we like supporting great human beings, but you got to make sure they're doing great work as well. And I can speak for the Sea of Dead individuals and that they are certainly doing that. Head to Sea of Dead on social media. Sea of Dead 1, I believe it is, on Twitter. But again, if you look anywhere, there are some great individuals doing some great things. Vanessa, plug your stuff. You gave the elevator pitch earlier for putting you over, but again, I don't know if our friends were in the chat at that point. And if you're putting so many people over the last little bit, put yourself over. Give the plug for that, and give a plug for where people can keep track of you in the next little bit, my friend.
Okay, so we have a little show on Twitch with a wrestling gimmick, Seinfeld style, Putting You Over, so twitch.com/putting you over. All of our interviews, if we do have them, with lots of indie talent that's coming up. The whole month of March into April, we were highlighting everyone who was going to be Mania weekend for the indie shows, so we had a lot there. If you go to youtube.com/putting you over, that would be great, because then you can go through and see past interviews we have. We're actually only 2 subscribers away from 200, so if you just hit that little subscribe button and get us to 200, that would be sweet. So every Tuesday, Thursday from 9 to 11. Right now, we're just kind of coming off of Mania weekend, so we'll see what happens on Tuesday. It's probably just going to be a highlight show going from there. And yeah, that's about it. Find us also at Twitter. I'm at Twitter at Ms_Wiper, WIPER, if you don't have it up to see. That's about it.
Who do we, because I finally figured out how to do this actually yesterday. Like I said, I'm an old man. I don't know Logan Paul. And up until yesterday, I didn't know how to raid other channels. So we are going to do that right now. And I am going to pick the channel because if it's our first raid, and technically it's my show. I hosted this one. I sent you the link. So I'm going to pull rank for the first time. We are going to raid our friend Queen of the Ring. She is streaming professional wrestling right now. If you guys want to join us over there, let's support some great human beings to close this one out. Other than that, Vanessa, maybe you can actually answer this one for me at the risk of making me sound silly. If once I hit this start raid button, will our stream end? Or do I have to hit start raid and then do closeouts? I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to hit start raid. And then if I see you guys after that, great. And if not, then consider this my goodbye. We're raiding. Haha, I believe. See, it says start raid and wait. Thanks, Ed Fries. You're helping us out a ton there. And are we raiding? Did we do it?
I don't know. I don't have the Twitch up.
Well, I don't know that.
Pulling the curtain back. Oh, I forgot to tell people to you can watch some wrestling to go to facebook.com for Wrestle Pro Alaska.
Ooh, that's
5 minutes ago.
Excellent call. Actually, I've got to catch up on the collective and all that sort of stuff over the next little bit. Maybe you and I can hop on here one of these days and just do like a blood sport, hot girl shit. There's been some great shows over the last little bit. Admittedly, I'm nowhere near well-versed enough right now to hop into that stream, but 3 viewers are ready to raid Queen of the Ring. Raid now. Okay, I clicked the button. I don't know if we're off yet, but we're ending the broadcast, friends. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night.